Hi everybody. Today we have Sri Rangarajan Narasimhan. So he has been an activist who has brought out a lot of wrongdoings in temples in Tamil Nadu, and he has actively filed, petitions, and he's been trying to rectify the wrongdoings. He's been trying to retrieve the lot of lost practices. Welcome to the show.
Srimate Ramanujanam.
First question what we're going to have is, who's Rangarajan Narasimhan? What was he doing all these years? How come he's suddenly active in social media and in YouTube and Facebook, and he's been actively posting videos, bringing out wrongdoings that are happening in the temple. So who are you?
Yeah, before that, in your introduction, you introduced me as an activist. I would
Okay.
like to call me as a devotee rather than an activist.
Okay.
An ardent devotee, a person who is interested in Sanatana Dharma, a person who is interested in upholding the Constitution of India. I'm basically a citizen of this country, just like you and anybody on the street. There is nothing fancy about me. I just want to do what is right, and I've been doing. Where am I all these days? I do not know. That question should be answered by everybody else, because I am here for forever. I'm 50 years old, and I'm living for 50 years, and I'm there. It is like a flower, Sometimes the flower is not seen until it is blossoming. Maybe a few videos of mine, which is on the social media, probably caught everybody's attention. I've been in the courts to try to restore or try to establish our rights as guaranteed with the Constitution of India and Article 25 and 26, basically the religious rights, right from 2015 onwards. So it's not something that is new. This is 2020, so we have been there for about 5 years now. So why people do not know about me is something that I can't answer. I have been posting slowly and steadily on the Facebook. I was not very active. I was going about by doing my business, basically trying to impress upon the court what is right and what is not right. And eventually I started using the social media to pass the information that is happening in the courts. Basically, what I file is basically public interest litigations. So every public is entitled to know what's happening, and I have started using social media just like anybody. I have had my growth phase, and I have now a well-established channel both on Facebook and YouTube, and people are now seeing me more than earlier, and probably that is why many do not know. Most of the mainstream media are not very interested in people like me. They need their politics. So I'm a non-political person, so that is probably the reason why nobody knew me. But I am there for several years now.
Okay. Is Rangarajan Narasimhan, trying to, use the politics or use the sex between two, Sampradaya and, Sri Vaishnavam? It's usually called as Vadakalai Sampradayam and Tenkalai Sampradayam. And, Sri Rangarajan is using, this to create a rift, to try to, bring out the difference, and, he's targeting the people who are belonging to the other Sampradayam in the temple. So is Rangarajan trying to play politics with that and trying to create a, difference or trying to gain attention?
I do not know what your viewership is, because your question is very technical, first of all. Many people do not know what your question is basically. So I will try to explain that for a few seconds. You asked me if I am trying to create a rift between two sects. Sri Vaishnavam is the Sampradaya that I follow. I am a Vaishnavite. In South India, it is very clear there are two different types of schools of thoughts in Vaishnavam itself. One is Vadakalai and the other is Tengalai. And you are trying to say whether I am trying to create a rift between Vadakalai and Tengalai. That is your question, if I am right.
Correct.
And I think the viewers would have probably got an idea of what your question is. It is very well known in south of India, particularly in Tamil Nadu, that there is a bit of bad taste between these two groups, which is unfortunate. I do not subscribe to that. There are not just two sects of Vaishnavism. There are several sects of Vaishnavism. There are several flavors. ISKCON is a flavor. There are so many others like
the Madhva Sampradaya.
Yeah, Madhva Sampradaya is also Vaishnavam. Advaita Sampradaya is also Vaishnavam. People also say Sikhism is also a form of Vaishnavam. So there are different flavors of Vaishnavam. And if you start looking at it as such in a narrow spot, it is rather unfortunate. The kind of issues that I am bringing up and the kind of actions that I take, I do not know from where the narrow-minded idea of me creating a rift between Vadagalai Sampradayam and Tenkalai Sampradayam came. I am trying to expose and correct the faulty system in Sanatana Dharma. I'm not strictly confined to only Vaishnavite temples. I have also filed cases for Shaivite temples. I have also filed cases for Shakta temples. And I don't know why, and it is not you. There are several others have also questioned the same thing. So it is a good, important question also. So, to tell that atrocities that is happening in a temple just because it is a Vaishnavite temple and just because I'm a Tenkala Sampradayam person, to say that it is it is trying to play politics between Vadagalai and Tenkalai is the politics of those people who have actually made the crime. See, for example, in Srirangam, where I am situated in, the viewers may not know where I am from. I am from a place called Srirangam in Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu. This place is post the temple called Sri Ranganath Swami Temple, which is the first and foremost temple for all Vaishnavites, irrespective of which school they belong to. This is called the root of Vaishnavism. Swami Ramanujacharya lived in this place for as many years as possible for him to do several reforms. All the reforms that he did has been done from this great holy place. In this temple, where Sri Ranganatha Swami, there should be a small introduction about Swami Ranganatha also. Swami Ranganatha is the Aradhana Murti of Sri Ram. Everybody knows Sri Ram. Sri Ramchandra Murti is, as we all know, recently there was a foundation also laid to build his temple at his birthplace in Ayodhya after 600 years of struggle. Sri Ramachandra Murti's Aradhana Murti is Sri Ranganatha Swami. During his Pattabhishekam, that is when on his consecration as the king of Ayodhya, Sri Ramchandra Murti presented his Aradhana Murti to Vibhishana, who on his way back to Sri Lanka installed that Murti in this Divya Kshetra of Sri Rangam. Okay. This Aradhana Murti is here for several thousands of years in Sri Rangam, and there are a lot of atrocities both from the management perspective as well as from the idol smuggling perspective, which has happened in the recent years, particularly in 2014 and 15. That is when I pitched in, because since this being a very important kshetra for Sri Vaishnavism and for all Vaishnavas, I living here in Sri Rangam, I being a Tenkala Sampradayam person, the temple being a Tenkala Sampradayam temple, it is convenient for the crime doers to distract the population by saying that Rangarajan is trying to create a rift between Vadagalai and Tenkalai Sampradayam. What am I doing here? I am here exposing the crime of theft of the Utsava Murti Nambaramal. I am trying to expose the atrocity of damaging the Moolava Murti, Sri Ranganatha Swami himself, which has happened in the year 2014 and 15. The person who did this and who is solely responsible for this is none other than Venu Srinivasan, who is the chairman of TVS Motors. And Venu Srinivasan, unfortunately, is from a family of Vadagalai sect. This is what the culprits are using. And the culprits are trying to play politics by saying Rangarajan being a Tengalai person is targeting Venu Srinivasan being a Vadagalai person. I am sure no Vadagalai person will agree that a person who claims that he sold Bible for a living in his own interview, that is Mr. Venu Srinivasan, in his interview to the TV channels, to mainstream media, will be accepted as a person from Vadagalai sect, even by Vadagalayas, even by the Vadagalai people. So I do not think that there is any kind of a rift. People who know me, Acharyas from whom I studied, belong from both sects. I have highest regards for them, and I have a highest regards for both the sects. And like I said, it is just the politics that is played by the crime doers who are trying to divert the attention of the mass public by creating a rift between me and the larger population. This is actually a crime, you know. This is a crime as per Indian Penal Code. Trying to create rift between two sects of people is itself a crime. And that is what these people who are the crime doers are successfully doing. And the result of their propaganda has gotten some attention more than me itself, because people who do not know me also know somebody from Tengalai Sampradayam is actually trying to create rift between Tengalai and Vadagalai. So that is where it ends. So
you said people are imposing this to create this image. So one of your videos, so you have been active in social media for quite some time, and one of the videos you said, I would take the priests, the hereditary priests or archakas who are performing pujas regularly in temple, I will examine them whether they have the knowledge on the agama. So this is one statement which you had made in your video. So if you look at the background, most hereditary priests or archakas are from Vadagalai sect. While if you see the people who are appointed by Ramanuja, who are called as Stalattar, who are supposed to manage and run this temple administratively, are from the Tengalai sect. So will you ask the same question to the the people who are called as the Stalattar or the Tirthakaras? Will you ask them the same question, or will you say that I'll examine them also?
This is again unfortunate. People who do not know what I have done in the past 5 years can say whatever they want to. The most important case that I have been instrumental in fighting, I should not say fighting, it's my duty to do, so I don't think it is the fighting as well. The word is the wrong word, but for the sake of understanding, I will use it. The expose of the idol theft in Srirangam was done by me in the year 2015, and I have been continuously exploring possibilities to expose that and then bring it to the attention of the courts by filing complaints. I have filed a complaint to the police station blaming both Archakas as well as Stalattar as well as the temple's management for all the wrongdoings that has happened in this temple. Example, like I said, the theft of the idol of Sri Nambarmal, the Utsav Murti, the damage for the idol of the Moola Murti, and several other artifacts, ancient artifacts that was stolen, that was excavated, illegal excavation, whatnot and whatnot in this temple. And in my complaint, which is officially, there is an FIR filed by the Idolwing CID with the number 2/2019, Idolwing CID crime number 2/2019. This FIR has got in the list of accused the administrators of the temple, that is the trustees, the board of trustees, which includes Venu Srinivasan, headed by Venu Srinivasan, which is illegal, by the way. We will cover it if possible later. The joint commissioner, executive officers who have played a role over the years of HRNC department, the Archakas of the temple, the Stalatas of the temple, and the Tirthakaras of the temple, and certain Kangirebaras who are full-time employed in the temple. So, by your own words, there are priests, Archakas who are predominantly Vadagalais, and there are also certain Archakas who are Tenkalai from Tenkalai sect as well. So, it is not true that all Archakas are only from Vadagalai sect. And I have all my acquisition is only on Archakas, not a particular Archaka. Maybe a particular Archaka is heading them as head priest. Maybe I'm talking about them. But all the atrocities from the Agama Shastra perspective, all the deviations, all the blasphemy that is happening from the Agama Shastras are happening predominantly by the Archakas who are both from Vadagalai and Tengalai sect. And all the theft which has happened, the FIR is actually accusing both the Salatas, Tirthakaras as well as Archakas and administrators. So, yet again, it is just a question of perception that was created successfully by the crime doers who have the wherewithal to create such propaganda in the mainstream media and the social media. I am a devotee of my Perumal, so I do what I do, and people can see it any which way that they want. But all these things are legal; it is there in the court. So we can't box this into such a small kind of a perspective. Rather, people who are watching this for the first time should know what I am talking about. Many people, my videos, my social media videos are all in Tamil language because I am trying to educate the people in Tamil Nadu, which is facing a serious issue of losing the history, losing the religion, Hindu religion itself, the Sanatana Dharma, losing the culture, losing the art and architecture of our ancient forefathers, day in and day out. Thousands of temples have been demolished here now, and many people who might be watching this for the first time will be astonished by what I'm saying. It is happening in Tamil Nadu, and I am trying to see how I can educate Tamilians who are here at ground zero to protect the temple. So most of my videos are in Tamil, and that is the reason why I'm trying to see if I can add much more clarity to your questions, so people who are listening to this interview for the first time understand where I'm coming from. So maybe I would encourage you to ask more questions about the kind of crimes and kind of wrongdoing, malpractices and maladministration that is happening that I am trying to expose in the temple.
Okay. So you are saying there's idol theft that's happening. So what do you mean by idol theft? So if we go to any temple, there's an idol in the sanctum, and so you are quoting an example of the Srirangam temple. So if we go to Srirangam temple anytime now, you can still see the main idol over there. You can see the other smaller shrines within the larger temple. You can see all the idols there. What do you mean, the idol theft actually?
See, not only in Srirangam, this is a well-established case in the Madras High Court, basically. There is enough proof that is submitted, not just by me, but other spiritually inclined people who are also interested in protecting the temple. For the benefit of sake of the audience, in Tamil Nadu, there are nearly 40,000 temples which are under the clutches of the government, illegal clutches of the government rather. In most of these temples, there are a Moola Murti and a Utsava Murti. Moola Murti is a permanent structure, permanent figure of the god and goddesses, or goddesses as per the temple, which will be stationed. And the Utsava Murti is a small idol which is typically made of some metal, Panchaloka typically, and which will be taken on procession and then celebrated during the festival periods, which is called Utsava. In Tamil Nadu, many of the temples do not have the required security, and the government, which is illegally controlling the temples, have, in many of these temples, taken the Utsava Murti, which is easy to move from one place to another, and then placed in a locker system kind of called it is called Idol Safekeeping Center. I forgot the name exactly. It is Idol Safekeeping Center. Okay, they keep it there. In the Idol Safekeeping Center, these idols are there for several years, several decades together. There are established cases which have proven that idols have been swapped in the idol centers by taking imitations of the original, making a duplicate, placing the duplicate inside that icon center. It is called icon centers, and then taking the original and then smuggling it out. This is one kind of theft that is happening in Tamil Nadu. Another kind of theft that is happening, as it happened in Srirangam, is even the Utsamurti is an imitation of the Utsamurti is taken inside the temple itself and replaced, and the original Utsamurti is being smuggled out. That is what has happened in Srirangam in the year 2012, and that is the kind of theft that is the second kind of theft that is happening. And they do this. I will answer your question before you ask the question. How is this possible? You may ask. In Srirangam in the year 2012,
one additional question to this. Yeah, one additional question to that. How is it possible? So if you are saying the idol is stolen, where is that idol now? What is the idol there in the temple?
Yeah, like I told you, it is an imitation that is there. That is, I cannot call it as imitation because I, being a spiritual person, I cannot call it duplicate. I cannot call it imitation. It is a prati in our language. It is basically a imitation, which is a mold taken out of the old one, and it is being replaced. I will tell you how it happened. In the year 2012, the administration suddenly thought, within quotes, that they need to repair some defects in the Utsamurti idol, which is made of solid gold, which is the belief. Nobody has tested whether this idol is made of solid gold or panchaloha or bronze or silver or copper. We do not know. Nobody tests this thing. It is faith. In history says that Malik Kapoor, who invaded some years back, came here to steal this Utsamurti, and the Utsamurti was protected by the acharyas who were then by that time who lived then. This Utsamurti, which is the life of all Vaishnavas, has been marked to repair by the so-called administration, and under the guise of repair, in the year 2012, they locked the temple for 3 days. Can you believe this? People locking the temple for 3 days in a place called Srirangam, which is the #1 Dividesa, and that has happened. Any Tom, Dick and Harry in this temple, in this village, in this place, in Srirangam, and any Tom, Dick and Harry in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya will know that in 2012, for 3 full days, the temple was locked for public darshan. Utsamurti has undergone a repair, and he has been successfully repaired after 3 days. After 3 days is what we saw. Every single person in Srirangam can literally feel that the deity that they are actually worshipping is not the original deity. It is so blatantly visible for these normal eyes, not an expert eye. I'm not talking about an archaeologist. I'm not talking about a forensic expert. A normal deity's eyes knows that the Utsamurti has been changed. These 3 days, they have taken impressions of the original Murti, and they have made a new mold, and they have created a new idol. They have replaced that new idol here, and they have taken the original away. Where is the original is something for the police department to find. If I am given the powers, I will find.
Okay. So that seems to be an organized, way of, idol theft. So how many such cases have you, filed in the court?
You're talking about idol theft cases?
Yeah, the wrongdoings, idol theft. How many such cases have you filed?
All cases put together. I don't have the count, but it is almost, I have filed about 30 to 35, 40 nearly public interest litigation. And the miscellaneous petitions which are part of the main case, if you put together, it will run more than 100. And this encompasses not just idle theft, but also maladministration, religious interference by government, etc. This is, I can classify it in probably 3 ways: religious interference by government on temples, maladministration in temples, theft of artifacts, ancient artifacts. These are the 3 sectors by which I have filed. Yeah, and there is 1 or 2 cases which I have filed also on a public. It also falls on religious interference anyway. And I also support other people who are fighting other cases. Recently, which as we speak, I am supporting a case of a temple elephants which PETA is trying to remove from the temple from Pondicherry. So I'm assisting them. I support as many people as possible, which is something I do, which I feel that's my duty to do, as long as I can be of use to them.
You had narrated that the temple was, closed for 3 days. There was a, mold taken of the murti or, deity, and there was an imitation deity created. So you're giving so many details, and I hope you would have definitely submitted this in the court. So since these cases are in the court, under, hearing, so how many such cases have you won, or how many such cases have, reached the stage of, delivery of judgment, and how many more are there? Like, to make, how many such cases you have won? Because you say you have details, with time and, the event when it took place. So how many, such cases you have won?
Yeah, see, Indian judicial system is a long drawn process, and people who have filed cases will definitely know. That is something that we have to live with. Many of the cases are still under hearing. There is not a single case which can be considered lost because they are pending hearing, and the hearing is going on. With regards to cases that are won, there I can quote quite a few cases. Srirangam case itself, the idol theft case, the police refused to file FIR as expected. Because they are all part and parcel. Several people are part and parcel of this, and the people who have committed this crime are very well connected and very well established and very powerful. So they have put their might behind to not file an FIR. And I filed a case before the Honorable Madras High Court in the year 2018, seeking for a direction to file an FIR, and the case went on for a year. And after a year, the court has agreed that there is prima facie. The preliminary investigation was done not once but twice, which is strange, because even in PRPC there can be only one preliminary investigation. In spite of it, there were 2 preliminary investigations done in my case. I can even say the case number is criminal OP 5596 of 2018. And finally, in 2019, the police were directed to file FIR. They did not file, and I had to go for a contempt petition. And finally, they filed it in December 2019. Idle CID crime number 2/2019 was filed successfully, and investigation is ongoing. This is one case. With regards to the damage to Moolamurthy in 2015, when the damage happened, I approached the court. As a result of that, subsequently I had to file a few more cases, and there are 2 bans which are still in existence. That there cannot be any temple in Tamil Nadu there cannot be any renovation done in Tamil Nadu. There is a ban on renovation on ancient temples by the Honorable Madras High Court in Tamil Nadu, except for they have given exceptions to essential works, meaning if there is a temple which is if there is structure which is almost in the verge of collapsing, they can work on it. Otherwise, they cannot do. Even that, they have to get approval from a committee that the court has appointed. An expert committee is appointed. That expert committee has to approve them. That ban is there. In Tamil Nadu, there are also temples which are completely demolished. recently my tweet, I'm not very, I'm very new to Twitter, I should say, because I have not, the recent tweet that I have made on the Manambadi has got some good reception. There is a temple in Manambadi which is 1,000-year old, built by Rajendra Chola. That was completely demolished by the HRNC department, the Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowments Department under the government of Tamil Nadu. They have demolished a number of temples in Tamil Nadu, and I had filed a case, and the court has completely banned any kind of demolition of any ancient temples in Tamil Nadu. This is another one. There was a religious interference in a place called Tirukkannapuram. Tirukkannapuram is a place in Tamil Nadu where there is another Vaishnavite shrine, and the HRNC department has interfered in the religious festivals that was supposed to be conducted. They stopped the religious festival, and I had filed a case against it, and I won the case. And the court directed the authorities and everybody else to conduct the Utsava. Brahmotsava was stopped, and it was done. And there are other minor orders that I have received. There are several orders that we have received, which are like kind of speed breakers to the HRNC department, which has been happening quite a few times. Recently, HRNC tried to usurp 10 crores of rupees which are parked as surplus funds. Recently, HRNC tried to pass an illegal order to try to divert the surplus funds from rich temples to the cheap crores of rupees. And the case was not filed by me. Nevertheless, I gave my videos went viral in that, which was given in the local language Tamil, which went viral in that. And finally, before even the hearing came in, the government actually withdrew the government order. There are other cases which are pending. If required, I can give details.
So coming back to Srirangam, so you were talking about idol theft and the wrongdoings. So there is, people say there are several wrongdoings, but they allege that Mr. Rangarajan focuses only on certain things which he is focused. He is not worried about the other wrongdoings. So, and people give a lot of examples. There are other wrongdoings in the temple. So one example is it was you who brought out that the prasadam which was offered to the Ranganatha Swami is not done properly. It is not done according to the prescribed manner. Is one very popular video that was there in social media. People quote that the way he quoted about the prasadam. There's one particular medicine that goes from Dhanvantri, who's considered a god of medicine, which is supposed to be offered to Perumal. He does not talk about it. And there are things like things that are there with Gosala. There's a specific sanadi called Nadamunigal Sanadi, one of the Acharya of Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam, that is used as a place for resting and eating. So people say there are a lot of wrongdoings, but Rangarajan comfortably takes only few things. So what is your response for that?
On a lighter note, those who are complaining, let them take up those things that I have left off. Because if they are knowing those things and they are keeping quiet, they are actually doing something wrong. And that's on a lighter note, actually also seriously anyway. Even though I am saying that it is lighter note, it is also serious. I do not know how to explain this thing basically. Okay, let me say, I give you an analogy, and let's try to see a couple of analogies, and let's see if we can try to answer the question. Let's say a person is having a heart attack. Let's say a person has fallen down from the fifth floor onto the floor. Let us say he has a broken leg. Let us say he is also suffering from a heart attack. Which one will you treat first?
We'll obviously treat the cardiac arrest first.
Why? Can I say that this doctor is selective in treating this person? He is not looking at the broken leg, but he is only looking at the heart attack? You can't say that, right? Say that it looks silly, isn't it? Such is the case. There are several issues in several temples. There are things that are supposed to be taken care of first, second, third. There has to be priorities. And all the issues must be addressed. There is no denial about it. The second analogy I would give is something that is recent. Many people can relate to it. The current situation in our country, in the world for that matter, the COVID situation. There is a lockdown. Everybody is supposed to stay indoors. We do not know for what reason, how it is going to prevent. Scientifically, is not proven. And there was an aggression by Chinese into our territory, and India also gave a befitting reply to that. Now, if somebody goes and tells that the Prime Minister, instead of looking at the COVID-19 situation, is putting his efforts on to tackle an aggression in China, what would you call them? You would probably call them Tukde gang, isn't it? So, just because somebody is talking about a particular issue, which is very important, which is much more important, and just because the public comes to know about all these things primarily because of my videos on the social media. No mass media, no mainstream media, no social media other than my channel, for that matter, has talked even a single time about the theft that has happened in Srirangam and in other parts of Tamil Nadu to the extent that it is supposed to be covered. And my videos are not short, probably like this video also. We do not know how long this interview is going to happen, and I do not know how long people will have the patience to listen to such. Sorry?
The patience to listen to the explanation.
Yeah, to listen to these issues, because these issues are not things which can be made to understand to people. These are all white collar crimes, These are all scientific crimes that are happening, and it is not possible for anybody to explain what is. In spite of me spending hours together publishing videos, you yourself are having so much of a doubt, which I know that you are asking because those who are only spending 2 or 3 seconds watching my videos probably can have their own opinion about what I'm saying. In spite of enormous evidences that I have shared in the public portal, people are not aware of what is happening. I am sure outside of Tamil Nadu, many people would not even know what's happening in Tamil Nadu, with temples for that matter. I'm talking about with temples. People know about the politics that is happening. Tamil Nadu is always politically in a powerful position. So people will definitely watch and closely follow Tamil Nadu politics. But what happens to the majority of the people who are living here, who are from the Hindu who follow the Sanatana Dharma, so-called Hindu religion? There is nothing called Hindu religion. Hinduism is a group of religions. And this group of religious people are facing serious issues, serious fundamental denial of fundamental rights of religious freedom. People do not know about these things. It is difficult for anybody like me who is sitting in a corner in a small village called Srirangam to expose every single thing that is happening. And even if I do that, people will say he is finding fault in the nitty-gritty issues.
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
Just to give an assurance, I will never leave a small stone unturned to establish the religious rituals and culture and the practices, customs and usages of not just Srirangam, but every Sanatana Dharma temple as prescribed by the Shastras and Sampradaya. And this is not a small joke that we are talking about. Everything will be attended, like I said. Heart attack will be taken care of first, and minor scratches on the body will also be taken care once the person is revived of the cardiac arrest.
So another allegation of which people keep saying is Rangarajan keeps complaining about everything. He has problem with everything. So he was saying at the beginning of the lockdown, when the COVID was spreading a lot in the country, he said the temple celebrations or specific festivals are not happening. So now when people are found out that with proper social distancing and wearing of the mask, we have to run the economy and people have to, the normalcy has to be restored. And a lot of temples or started their temple festival celebrations which were missed or which are about to be done. So they have started it. So people say Rangarajan had troubles that festival was not happening. Now the festivals have started happening. He has problem with that also. So they say he finds fault with everything. So what do you want to say for that?
This is a joke, earlier you said that I am not looking at all the issues. Now you are saying I'm looking at every single issue, which is very contradictory, isn't it? Well, if there is something wrong, that is wrong. You can't. You have to call a spade, and a rose a rose. See, when Tamil Nadu temples, particularly Sanatana Dharma temples, follow Agama Shastra, which is a derivative of Vedas. Agama Shastras are divided basically in three broad classifications. One is Shaiva Agamas, another is Vaishnava Agamas, and this is Shakta Agamas. Since they are all derived from Vedas, they have a basic common thread. And the common thread is reasons which are not mentioned in Agama Shastras. One can never, ever dare to stop a festival that is scheduled to happen in a temple. This is very clear. We have an exception, and the exceptions that is given in Agama Shastras are natural calamities like floods, like earthquakes, like torrential rains, which is paralyzed the entire place, or a disease outbreak which has paralyzed the society. These are all the reasons why. And one more thing is an invasion of an enemy, which is not happening which is happening internally, but our enemies are now inside, not from outside. Anyway, so this is another reason. COVID does not fall in any of these categories. Number one. Number two, the government of India or neither the government of India nor the government of Tamil Nadu has imposed any ban or any restriction in the way a temple operates. The only restriction that is there is for the citizens of this country to visit any religious institution for that matter. Public cannot visit religious institutions. But the religious rituals, Sanatana Dharma is peculiar, It is unique. That is the uniqueness of India. That is the uniqueness of the Bharat nation. We celebrate our gods like none other religion, no other religion, So we have several festivals throughout the year which are required to be done as per the Shastras. And since there are no bans, which cannot be also there in my opinion, these Utsavas which were supposed to happen in the Vikari year of Panguni month of Vikari year, which is the Tamil year, last month of the Tamil year, which is in April, that time, when the government banned the entry of public into the temple, the government did not stop functioning of the temple altogether. They have said the temple can proceed as per the religious requirements. So, in spite of this very clear statement from both the central as well as the state governments, the atrocious administration of Sri Ranganatha Swami Temple, Srirangam, stopped the Utsava. We all know that Utsavas happened in every other temple, including Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. They also conducted the Utsavas at that time also, and throughout this lockdown period as and when required. But unfortunately, those who are wanting to prove a point, wanting to blasphemize the situation, the religion, in the root of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, that is in Srirangam, probably they think that if they blasphemize the religion here, the entire Sampradaya will vanish. Probably that is what their thinking is, which is very much possible. And you have to ask these questions to them. They have stopped, in spite of requests from people like me, people from the religious heads, they have stopped the Utsava which is supposed to happen in the month of April 2020. You may say that at that time the COVID situation was not known. I do not know. I really don't care, whether the COVID situation was serious then or now. Can anybody say whether
the point is, yeah, I agree that the COVID situation lockdown happened, but we are dealing with people and people life, the priest, the people who will make arrangements for the festival. Don't you think their lives matter? They don't know how this disease is spreading, what would be the effect of the disease. We saw a lot of people getting affected. We heard news that there were no beds in hospitals. So in such scenario, how do you expect people to gather and organize a festival?
Do you remember the date when the lockdown was announced?
It's on March 21st.
The Utsava is supposed to happen 3 or 4 days later than that. Start, okay. It is not too far. So at that time we were not even knowing what is happening. Everybody, we are clueless basically. During that time, what was the situation with regards to this COVID? And today, what is the situation with regards to COVID? None in the world, I would say, underline it with bold, have found a cure for this disease, COVID-19. There is nothing which has changed from then. There's nothing just changed. Even though some people claim that there are vaccines, which is not in trial yet. So we do not know. There is no medicine for this. Irrespective of whether it is March 2019, April 2019, May, June, July, August, and September, the situation has not changed a bit. As per the scientific data and scientists and the researchers and virologists and epidemiologists, if this is a pandemic and if there is no medicine, whether it is March 2019 or August 2020 or March 2020 or August 2020, there is now no change. Your accusation that then it was very severe and now it is so mild is an imagination in my opinion, because it is as severe as it was then as it is today, or it is as simple as today as it was then. It is just a mindset. People are being played with their brains. As always, people create a fear psychology to control everybody else. That is what, in my opinion, is happening. Nothing has changed from March 2020 to August 2020. If people can do it in August 2020, they can very well do it in March 2020. There is an organized, very well conspired blasphemy which is happening in Srirangam. People want to blasphemize our religion. They want to mar our religion. They want to create blocks to our rituals. They want people to forget about what is happening. The Adi Brahmotsavam, which was never ever stopped in the history of Sri Ranganath Swami Temple, Srirangam, was stopped in this year by falsely citing an order which was never existent, that the government had banned any kind of rituals, which is not true. But government never ever banned any rituals, any festivals that is happening inside the temple. If your fear that the archakas and the priests and all the kankrebaras, all the religious servants who are performing these things will be affected, then they will be affected even today. In fact, they will be affected even more today, because that was the time when the disease was actually starting to spread. Today it has spread for sure, if at all it existed, as per the popular belief that it has really spread. So I do not see why it could not have been done by then when they can do it today. And when people say that I was objecting then for not conducting Utsavas, and I am objecting today for conducting the same Utsava, they do not know the Shastras which govern these things. The Utsavas are supposed to be festival days. It is a joyous occasion. In our Sampradaya, anything that we are doing, we do a Sankalpa before we start. And in that Sankalpa, we tell the location that we have, that we are in Bharatavarshe, Bharatakande, Mero, Savasaka. We continue to do this, and then we say Subhayoga Subhakarana. That means I am trying to do certain things which is for the good of the world, and I pray to God that I am trying to take a time and a lagna and a yoga and etc. the nakshatra, such that it is auspicious. So the task that I have taken, the karma that I have begun, will finish without any hindrance. And that is why we are supposed to take a Shubha Yoga, Shubha Dina, Shubha Nakshatra. All these things must be auspicious. The festival that was recently conducted, which was stopped in March and then conducted in August by the management of Sri Ranganatha Swami Temple, started on a yoga which is called Marana Yoga. I do not know the English equivalent or the Hindi equivalent for this. It is basically a yoga which is it's a time of the calendar as per our sampradaya. It is not auspicious. Even the normal person who look into the daily sheet calendar, he will see what is the yoga for that time. And if it is Marana Yoga, he will never ever even attempt even to go and buy a shirt for him or a dhoti for him. The Utsava that was restarted originated at that particular time, which is what more proof do you want for the blasphemy that we face in our own country by our own men?
Okay.
And should I not raise this concern? Should I not voice this out? Normal people do not understand this. People who are educated, people who are well versed with the sampradaya, they are the persons who should decide. And I have spoken to n number of people to verify these things. Assuming that I have not diagnosed it properly, I have checked with several educated scholars, several religious leaders, and they have all unanimously said that the time that was chosen, that is 8/8/2020 at 5 p.m. Anybody who is watching this and who know a little bit of astrology can find out if this is a good time to start an Utsava in a temple, which is number one for the Sri Vaishnavas. Among all the Divya Desas that is there in the entire universe, not just in this world, we revere 108 Divya Desa, of which even Sri Vaikunta and is one of them. And this Sri Ranga Kshetra is considered to be even more pious than the Vaikunta. Can anybody accept the fact that a festival which was never ever stopped in the history of this temple, which was stopped by arrogant attitude of the management of the temple, not by the Sampradaya people, not by the Sampradaya Guru Maharaj, the Acharyas. It was not stopped by them. It was stopped by the trustees of the temple and the joint commissioner who was from the HRNC department. So, am I not supposed to say this? It is only for the welfare of everybody. What has happened must happen in the right way, at the right time, appropriately, by mingling everybody. Even the basic thing that such an Utsava is being conducted is not even publicized, It was done as if it was done secretly, Nobody even knew. There was no information given to the public that such a Utsava which is thought has been happening. Shouldn't that not be done? This is not nitpicking on the issues. This is a serious issue that I am talking about. People who are listening will understand the kind of denial of religious freedom that we are subjected to, and they should know that this is not a small thing. And there you go.
Okay. So you are saying there are the people, there are people who are trying to purposefully bring down the practices and try to, demolish, Sanatana Dharma. So one of the recent videos that was, popular in the social media is one, particular, Acharya of a particular mutt in Sri Lanka accusing you that there are anti-Hindu elements behind you and they are making you speak like this. So you are saying, there are people trying to do that to the temple, and there's one, famous Acharya who's accusing you, there's some anti-Hindu forces behind you who is making you to do all this. And
Well, you should ask
he
that
gave a press,
Acharya.
he gave a press meet, I think, and then we were able to see so many mics placed in front of him. So he was specifically accusing you of, there's somebody behind you who's working on this. So what do you want to say for that?
I can't be answering for the statements that others make. You should ask the Acharya. His name is Chandalangara Jiyar, alias Mannargudi Jiyar. He is a pontiff. And he is utilized. He was utilized or utilized his proximity with the mainstream media to have gone to the mainstream media to specifically accuse me as an anti-Hindu person and as a person who has been operated by anti-Hindu outfits. This is a serious statement. I would encourage even the intelligence department to have a probe on me to find out if I'm being operated by anti-Hindu groups, because such a kind of a thing should never be allowed. First of all, why the Acharya said you should ask him. Please do ask him. I will give you his number. I can give you his number. Please interview him and then find out why he said that, because it is up to him to explain why he said that. People who are watching this interview should know whether I am anti-Hindu. I will leave it to them. What is the other question that you said? Who is behind me?
Yeah, so
God is behind me. My Perumal is behind me. Sriman Narayana is behind me. All these books, all these religious books, all these law books are behind me. I am a law-abiding citizen and I am a devoted Sanatana Dharmi. And it is my responsibility to uphold Dharma. And I try to do that. And this is all is behind me. But God is behind me, and I feel that it is my responsibility and my duty to do this. It is also childish to say, and it is also insulting to say that people cannot think straight on their own. It has become a fashion today to constantly suspect some strange forces behind a person who is bringing out, who is a whistleblower, I do not know why. That is politics, that is politics at its best. We all are matured adults. We know what is law. We know what is right and what is wrong. We know what to do and what not to do. Unlike people who are forced to speak with the mainstream media by having several mics in front of them and claiming that I am anti-Hindu and I'm a force, some anti-Hindu forces behind me, I can think on my own. And there are several people like me who can think on their own. I think the larger population should connect with what I'm saying, and then should know that not everybody is being driven by forces from behind. It is up to the public to understand whether the person who accused me as anti-Hindu, who's being, in spite of being a pontiff, in spite of being a religious leader, or in spite of being a head of a mutt, accusing me as anti-Hindu, they should try to ask and then find out and research about the so-called background of this person.
Okay. So one question specifically, this we picked up from your social media post. So there's a popular historian, called Madhusudan, and there's a Bharatanatyam dancer, who had posted his offerings, what he had offered to God. So he says he has offered this to a particular god, and we saw some post about it. So you were saying in one of your videos that you want to investigate or examine what he has offered. So why do you say that? A person who he would have offered it to God out of bhakti, or he would have wanted to do something, he would have prayed for something. Why do you feel there's a need for investigation or examination on that particular post or that particular declaration, I would say?
See, I did not ask the person to be investigated. When you use the word investigation, people may be misunderstand it as a police investigation or things like that. Typically, what the politicians ask for. I said, okay, again, people who are seeing me for the first time, people who are hearing this thing for the first time, they would not know what you're talking about, and I think it is my responsibility to give a curtain raiser of what is happening. There is a person by name Madhusudan Kalaiselvan, whom you claim as an historian. And there is a person by name Zakir Hussain, whom you claim as a Bharatanatyam dancer. Zakir Hussain, the name tells his religion, and he accepts it. He has not denied it. He very clearly says he is a Muslim. Okay, he is a Muslim. And he is not a Hindu by any stretch of imagination. And this person, after my expose on my social media, these two people are related, you know. We need to understand Madhusudan Kalaiselvan and Zakir Hussain are thick friends. Madhusudan Kalaiselvan is a person with a Hindu name, but he's a practicing Muslim. I am not saying this. If you go to the internet and search for Madhusudan Kalaiselvan in the Hindu, the newspaper The Hindu, you will find an interview given by him where he himself says that he prays namaz for 5 times a day and he fasts during Ramzan. He is a practicing Muslim, in short. The politicians are very fond of calling people as the crypto Christian. He is a crypto Muslim. For a second, please do not misunderstand me as a person who is against any religion. In my Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, my Alvar, there are Alvars, and Alvar says, Avaravar Tamadama Dari Bari Bagai Bagai, Avaravar Erayavar Kuraivilar. This is a Tamil Pasuram. The meaning I will try to translate. Every god is not inferior. Avaravar Eraivar Kuraivilar. Meaning, no god is inferior. It is their choice. So I am from such a sampradaya and I am not against any religion. But I am definitely against those people who are foxes in the skin of a cow, you know, who try to portray themselves as Hindus, but they are not Hindus in reality. Madhusudan Kalaiselvan, by his own interview, is a practicing Muslim. It's a Hindu name. You claim that he is an historian. There is a video posted on YouTube by a channel called Peppers, if I am right, which was taken in the year 2016, where the interviewer actually introduces Madhusudan Kalaiselvan as a manager of a non-vegetarian restaurant in Chennai. Is he how come from 2016 he suddenly became a historian in 2020 is a $1 billion question. You can ask, can a person who is running a restaurant cannot become a historian? Yes, he can very well, but we will definitely question his credibility. Must be questioned, number one. On the other hand, his close friend Zakir Hussain, who very clearly claims that he is a Muslim, but Hindu by heart, he says. I'm a Vaishnava by heart. So by legal standards, he is not a Hindu. The law of the country, a law by name Tamil Nadu Temple Entry Authorization Act. This is an act enacted by the Tamil Nadu government in 1947. There is a rule in it which says, these are the people who are not allowed to enter into a temple. And the number one category is non-Hindus. Many people will be surprised by this statement. A law of this country prohibits non-Hindus from entering into a Hindu temple. This is law. I'm not talking about any Manuniti Shastras or any Chanakya Niti or any Vedas or anything. They also prohibit, that is a different story. But the law of the land says a non-Hindu cannot enter a Hindu temple. Zakir Hussain being a non-Hindu, however tall he claims that he is something by heart, can never be allowed inside a Hindu temple so long as he remains in the other religion. If he is so into this religion, we welcome him into this religion. let him be inducted, let him be legally called a Hindu, whether Vaishnavite or Saivite or whatever he wants to call himself as. Let him legally claim it, and then he can enter the temple. And somebody claiming in their Facebook that I have donated so much of money to this temple, I have since given half a kg of gold to that temple, I have given 1 kg of jewels to this temple, I have donated my medal to this temple and that temple. Unfortunately, what comes in the social media is probably the is written in stone for us in this 20th century, 21st century, unfortunately. Anybody can make any claim for that matter. All those claims must be investigated. We do not want any money from any other religion because this is our country, this is our religion. We have the right to decide from whom we can take money and whom we cannot take money. And somebody, just because he is claiming that he has donated something, doesn't mean that nobody else donates anything. And just because, even if it's true that he has donated, doesn't make him any better Vaishnavite or any better Hindu Dharma practitioner than the other person who has not donated.
So you're saying basically, they are people, they are non-Hindus and they were allowed in the temple. That's a prime, allegation.
Yeah, that is law. It is not an allegation. It is law of land.
Okay.
Who can say no to the law of land? If you do that, that will be a contempt.
Okay. The final question, of the interview, I would say. So you have been fighting.
One other thing I would like to tell is that there are also questions on why cannot you accept something which is given. You also asked something that is given by a bhakta, and there people say that even in the past, British also gave, Muslims also gave. Who gave what? They gave the money that they looted from us. They didn't give anything from their pocket. They looted this country. There is a video which is circulating that $45 trillion has been smuggled away, has been looted by the British from our country. The temples that were there when the Mughals came and raided in our country, when they conquered our country, their temples were actually covered with gold, which is all facts. There are enough historical evidences which is available that several kings from the other countries who came into this country looted this temple left, right and center. And they have looted. I would never be able to accept the argument that those people are so probably generous to donate to our temple. How can anybody ever say that somebody donated when they have looted us, Such is the kind of a situation that we are in, unfortunately. You take money from my pocket, you take 1 lakh rupees from my bank account and you give me 10 rupees and then you say that it is my donation. That is not charity, that is actually even worse than looting me. It is actually demeaning me. You have taken everything from my country, you have robbed my country, you have made me almost a beggar, and then you say that you are donating to my country, donating to the God in the name of so-called. I am sure there are some people who are definitely true, but I'm not talking about exceptions. I'm talking about those foxes who are in the cow's skin, who try to demean people. In our Sanatana Dharma, people like me and you, who claim that they are better just because they donated some money to some temple. No, we are not wanting any donations, boss. We can give money to the entire world. That is how our forefathers lived. We are when there is not even no America, when the British are even trying to walk, we were sailing across the ocean throughout the world. We have conquered the world. Our technology is so rich. People like Madhusudan Kalaiselvan, people like Zakir Hussain, demean people like Praveen Mohan, who is a very famous YouTuber, who does extensive research on the internet, and they claim that he is actually vilifying our culture. The kind of research that people like Praveen Mohan do without taking any credit for any of their findings, who try to tell that our forefathers had much better technology than what we are having today are being demeaned by these people like Madhusudan Kalachalan, Zakir Hussain in their own social media. People who follow their social media will definitely know. And if at all this Zakir Hussain claims that he is a Hindu by heart, you go and see his Facebook posts and other social media posts where he will insult Gomata, where he will say people who are following Hindu religions are people who drink cow urine. He defies us, he vilifies us, he ridicules us for worshipping Gomata. How can a person who ridicules us for worshipping Gomata can ever be a Hindu? You tell me.
Okay. I agree to certain points in terms of the law of the.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so
I can't hear you. Sorry.
Coming to the final question of the interview. So you have been fighting against the wrongdoings, against the law, things that are happening, haphazardly in the temple. So when do you see all these cases come to a logical conclusion? When do you think you'll win in the cases which you have filed?
Like I said in the beginning, the legal process is a long-drawn process in our country for whatever reasons that is there, and I wish all these cases are done and dusted with day before yesterday, but unfortunately that is not the reality. In our own country, we are struggling to establish our own fundamental rights. Such is the pathetic situation that we are in. And unfortunately, many of us are not even aware of the denial of fundamental rights that we have. Fundamental right to worship. We are denied of that in our own country. With such a situation, with the current legal system, with the pending cases that is there in the court, the cases are long fought, long drawn. There are two aspects to this. I mean, one is winning the cases on the court and winning the cases on the ground. When winning the cases on the court is something, like I said, is something that is in the hands of the court. I wish it will happen very soon. Like I said, I wish it has happened yesterday, but it hasn't. I wish it will happen tomorrow, today. It will happen. I'm sure. I'm confident about it. But the real win, the real victory is when we wake up. When many of us understand that it is our responsibility, these are our temples, these are our pride, and this is our right, and it is our responsibility for us to be able to claim what is legally right for us. So, unless otherwise this happens, victory is a distant reality, but I am sure it will happen for within a few months or years.
Okay, I hope people who watch this video, get more knowledge. I know that people feel enlightened and have better idea what's happening at the temples in Tamil Nadu. So thank you for taking out time and explaining all your.
One thing I would request to your viewers and to everybody who's watching this video, I want people to understand that emotional outbursts on social media is not enough. Posting a post on Facebook and WhatsApp and Twitter does not solve the problem. Many of us are very passionate about our religion, our dharma. But not many of us actually put the same kind of a passion in learning this, learning what is dharma. In short, many of us do not know the Bhagavad Gita also. Forget about the meaning, even the slokas, which is something which tells that we do not have the pride that we are supposed to know, supposed to have. And I wish those who are watching this video will understand that it is not somebody like Subramania Swami or some Hindu outfit which will jump from the sky and then find a solution for all our suffering. No, that is never going to happen. Neither anybody like Subramanian Swami or somebody like me who's sitting in a corner, Rangarajan, or somebody else can solve the problem. Unless otherwise we take ownership of our religion, of our temples, and we feel that it is our responsibility. And that responsibility comes only if the pride is there. Just like when India plays Pakistan in a cricket match, the patriotism is at the high. That is not enough. We should know the number of temples which are smuggled from this country. Just to extend it to 2 more minutes, I do not know how much more time you have. A temple, an entire temple from Madurai is available in the Philadelphia Museum. Entire temple, not an idol. An entire temple is displayed in Philadelphia Museum in United States of America. Okay, such is the kind of ignorance that we are in, and we are typically being played on our emotion by people who are actually anti-Hindus and who call people like me and the others who are actually doing the groundwork as anti-Hindus. We should know this. We should know that it is up to us to separate the milk from the water and to understand which is milk and which is water. Separate man from the rest of the crowd. So we have to do we should not just stop by putting a post, retweeting or reposting a Facebook and forwarding things on WhatsApp. But we should also take a little bit of interest, maybe 30 minutes in a day, to understand at the least what is happening today, if not what has happened in the past. There are enough information available on the internet. We should at the least know what are our fundamental rights as guaranteed by the Constitution of India. We should know that, and that we should do enough to exercise our rights. If we start doing this, unless and until we start doing this, there is no remedy for the entire thing. There may be successes here, 1 or 2, but that is not going to be long-standing for another 1,000 years. This is Sanatana Dharma, which means there is no beginning and there is no Adi and there is no Ant. There is no beginning and there is no end. And this Sanatana Dharma will survive long after we have gone. This has survived long before we were born. We live for a maximum of 100 years. There is nobody in this world today who lives for, and there is maybe a 0.01% people who live beyond 100 years. Average life of a human being is about 60-65 years. And in third world countries, it is even lower. So we need to understand that time is running out. We need to understand that just not retweeting, reposting, forwarding messages are enough. We need to spend time as a community, as Hindus. Hinduism is unique in one sense. Many people say we don't have unity. I deny that. We all have unity because that is how we are. That is how our dharma is. We do our swadharma. By doing our swadharma, collectively we win. Little drops of water make a mighty ocean is a proverb given by somebody, but we practice it. Every single Sanatana Dharmi does its duty. In result, it achieves enormous things. And that is the reason nobody is able to conquer this particular country, Bharat Desha, till date. No religion is able to conquer. And we are all united, just that we have to understand that we have to do our dharma. And our dharma is to try to find out what is happening and at least find out what is the reality. If Rangarajan says something, don't just trust him. Probe, ask questions, research about what he does. Find out about the cases that he has filed. Just because I am saying that I have filed 100+ cases, don't take my word. Don't give me money. There are so many people who will say, I am doing this, I am doing that. Give me money. Don't give me money. Participate in the struggle. Participate in the journey. You also take the ownership. Try to find out what is happening in the temples. Try to find out what has happened to the temples. We participate. You spend 10 rupees and then file a right to information petition about a temple that you are interested in, and then find out what is the reality. That is more important than you giving me 1,000 rupees. Never give money to anybody. Put that money where you are supposed to put in. Take half an hour of your day and then give it to this dharma. We will go a long way.
Thank you so much for that, detailed explanation. I think people who, after watching this video will definitely have an enlightenment. They will definitely know something which they had not known for all the viewers. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time and explaining this.
Thank you very much, Srimati Ramanuja. I also thank you for providing the opportunity to have a detailed interview. Many people don't have time nowadays to have a long interview, and I appreciate your this thing. I wish your channel also good, and I also request you to interview the other side of the party, which nobody does. Try to find out information from the temples that I've accused. One thing that I have missed out in this entire interview is the episode on Mylapore Kapaleshwara temple, where an idol was stolen in the year 2002 and yet to be found, 2004 and yet to be found. We probably will have another discussion if you think that is right. But like I said, please interview the other side, please interview the government, please interview the temple administration, please interview the priests that who blamed. That way, in that way, you will do a decent job in providing the right information before everybody, so everybody can make a decision. I wish the other side comes out in the open and then speaks with facts in their hand. I can give you provide you facts if required. We will see. I wish you all the best, and Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha.
Thank you so much.